All right, first question. Why were you a Jehovah's Witness?
I happen to have been born and raised in a Jehovah's Witness family, or at least since I was a toddler, my parents were Jehovah's Witnesses. So I was raised with Watchtower teaching. It's the only thing I knew or was exposed to. And as I grew up, I accepted it, believed it, was convinced that I was in the truth, although that's reinforced by their meetings and everything. So all the people I knew and were close to were Jehovah's Witnesses. So my family encouraged me to take it seriously. I went to school, only to high school, finished high school, and then made the decision that I wanted to pursue being a pioneer. That's a full-time worker for the Watchtower. Just support myself with any kind of job. I made all my decisions based on Watchtower teaching. So my job, my marriage, I married a Jehovah's Witness. When we married, we decided not to have children so that we could pursue doing that full-time work together. My husband was an elder, so we were very active Jehovah's Witnesses, and so I felt confident, I guess, and I felt secure. I felt like the Watchtower people, all the Jehovah's Witnesses, were my extended family. And when you're busy and active, you feel loved and secure as a Jehovah's Witness. So I would say that was why I was a Jehovah's Witness. I believed it.
All right. So you just said you believed it thoroughly and you didn't really have any doubts for a long time.
Mm-hmm. I was happy.
And you were happy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When was it exactly that those doubts started to surface about whether the Watchtower was credible or not?
I guess I would have to say I'm a more typical, I guess, witness, more of a follower than a leader. Whereas my husband was more intellectual. He was more of a student, so he would study, he would read books, even outside Watchtower books. He was reading history, and he had more background information than I did. So I would probably be more gullible type person and just believe what was presented to me. Lacked confidence in myself to understand things. So I think the doubts came because my husband, he lost faith and confidence in the Watchtower. And so he stopped going to the Kingdom Hall, to the meetings. And then I was sort of faced with, okay, now I have to do some research. Now I have to come up with answers if I want to win my husband back into the Watchtower. So I decided to do research to win him back into the Watchtower, to come up with answers for myself, to be a more confident Jehovah's Witness. That was my motivation. But as I was reading the literature, it helped me to understand what my husband's problems were, but it also raised a lot of issues for myself, things that I didn't know about the Watchtower, their history, for example. So that that did bother me, that they had made lots of predictions that I didn't even know about. So why didn't I know my own history? The history of the religion I was following and believing was from God. And then when I was reading their literature, whenever they talked about their history, they were covering up. They were being deceptive. They weren't giving you the full facts. Because I had been going to the Kingdom Hall and reading Russell's books, their founders' books, Rutherford's books, none of which I'd read before. All the information about their history I was getting from Current Conversation, Kingdom Hall, discussion and the latest books about their history. So that was a disillusionment for me when I discovered that they were deceptive. Because I had always listened to them. They told me to be honest, to be truthful. It's presented like it's a squeaky clean organization.
Mm-hmm. What do you think was it? What brought on the end of your life as a Jehovah's Witness?
Over the course of doing the research, at first I wouldn't let David know that I had any doubts, because I thought, well, if I turn out to be wrong and just haven't come up with the answer yet, I could be responsible for him never coming back to the Jehovah's Witnesses. So I just kept doing the research, but as I uncovered more disturbing things, and as I understood what his issues were, his problems were, and these problems that we faced really came from the fact that we were very active witnesses, and people would come to David, being the scholarly one, for answers to questions and concerns. We were active in door knocking and studying with people, so different people brought different objections. So I wouldn't say it was one reason that I left or that David left prior to me. It was a number of issues that had come up. So in the course of deciding, somehow we have to explain, if we leave this organization, we have to explain to our family, our friends, why we have problem, what the problem is. And because it was a lot of problems, we started to catalog the information that we had been gleaning from the books and put together a 200-page document that presented, we hoped, fairly neutrally, questions that had been presented to us, challenges against the Watchtower that had been presented to us, and things that we had discovered as well that bothered us. And we would put down the scriptures that pertained to it, what the Watchtower itself said, defined all the words that were being used, and that we hoped that this would be a way of explaining ourselves, and also give the Watchtower organization an opportunity to answer those concerns. So that information we presented to family members, and within a few weeks we were disfellowshipped. The questions were never addressed by the elders, really, or by the organization, because we sent it on to the Bethels, the two Bethels, the one in the States and the one here. None of them were answered. So I would say that was the end, because they ended up disfellowshipping us.
All right, there are a lot more things that I could ask you, but we should probably draw this to some kind of a close. So before we end this, are there any more thoughts you'd like to?
Well, I would just say that, in the next segment of this, I would like to maybe discuss some of the specific things that bothered me, like some specific examples of the different issues that we were trying to answer or come up with a conclusion to. So the things that disturbed us, I'd like to give some examples in the next discussion.
All right.
Okay.
See you then.
Bye.